The topic that I'm going to share this evening is titled Preparing for Harvest. Now, everything that we do in this life revolves around a very, very basic but yet spiritual principle called sowing and reaping. For every action, there is always a reaction. So whatever we sow, so shall we reap. And it's really, really important to understand that this principle plays a major role in every aspect of our lives, not just in business, in relationships, in raising kids, in in everything we do, whether you're a professional sports person, whether you're a managing director of a company, whether you're someone who packs bags in a grocery store, everything we do revolves around this principle of sowing and reaping. So I'm going to share some of these things, processes that lead from the decision to sow to reaping the harvest. Because, many times, and please, I will refer to scripture because that is my foundation, that is the basis of my life. And I believe that, the Bible is a book that gives us basic instructions before leaving earth. That's the acronym for the word Bible. All right. So I think it's important to know that I'll be sharing that from my heart, and the foundation is truth. Now, Jesus often spoke about farming analogies when he shared principles with people and gave them things to understand. A lot of his parables and things that he shared related to the people in that way because they were people of the earth. They were farmers and they worked with their hands and stuff like that. So the principle of farming, or the concept of farming, was quite easy for people to understand. Now, nobody sets out to begin anything in life without first thinking it through, unless your name's Andrew Lomax and you must make dumb decisions and jump in with both feet and your head. All right. But the idea or the principle is that we got to have some sort of vision first. We got to have some sort of understanding of what it is that we want to do. And in that place of receiving that vision, which may be something that God puts in your heart or in your mind, or it may be something that you've researched and wanted to find some sort of understanding about, but you would have some sort of beginning premise, and you would start with understanding what it is that you want to do. So let's say you wanted to plant a crop in a field, but you've never been a farmer, you've never planted anything before, but this idea has come across your path, and you've now decided, well, this is a good idea, so I'm going to plant some sunflower seeds, for lack of a better crop. And you go and do some research and get some understanding about it. And you then realize, well, okay, not only do I need the seeds, and before I need the seeds, I need to prepare. I need to prepare the fields. But even before that preparation, part of the vision and part of getting an understanding and getting clarity of what it is that you want to do would be communicating that vision with somebody, or even just communicating with God. Pray about it. Get an understanding of what it is that you should be doing, or how it is that you should be doing something. So you need to have that understanding. You need that communication in there so that you know that you're on the right track. I mean, by bringing this communication principle in there, let's say I have this idea that I want to start a farm, and I need to chat to someone about it. And I have a chat with Chris, and I have a chat with Freeman and Morgan. And I say, guys, this is the idea that I have. And this is what's come to mind. And this is what I'm thinking of planting. And Chris will say, but that's a stupid idea. You can't plant sunflowers in that area because it doesn't really get much sun, so it's not going to be ideal. And then you get Morgan says, but what do you really know about farming? Have you ever used a spade? Have you ever got your hands dirty? And Morgan says, you know what? You're a man of faith. Go ahead and do it. You'll probably make it work. And you get different opinions, but you've shared that experience or that vision with somebody, and you've got some feedback and information. Now there'll always be naysayers. Always. People are always going to say, oh, that's just another dumb pyramid scheme, or that's just something that you really shouldn't get involved with, or you're wasting your time, your energy, and your effort. You don't have to necessarily listen to the naysayers. You've got to process the information that you get. Every seed that is planted in the field, and I've jumped a little bit ahead, but every seed that's planted in the field is not necessarily going to germinate and grow. And we've got to keep that in the back of your mind, right? So you've had the vision, you've got the idea, you've got the starting premise, and you've decided, right, this is what I'm going to do. With Chris's advice, I decided I'm no longer going to plant sunflowers because I may not have a good harvest. So I'm going to change my crop and I'm going to plant watermelon seeds. So I've taken some advice, I've taken it on board, I've done a little bit more research about the area because there's a lot of things that affect the process of growth. And I found out that watermelons would be better to plant in this area because the climate is more conducive, the soil type is better, and I get a better return for my efforts. So I took taken on that advice. Freeman said to me, well, what do you know about farming? Well, I still know nothing, but I have bought a spade and I'm kind of prepared in that way. So maybe I'm on the right track. And with Morgan's idea of me being a man of faith and I must just jump in with both feet, well, I decided to buy some Wellington boots in case my feet get wet. So it's important to share that vision, communicate it, and for me, I think it's important, definitely important to communicate with God. Pray about it, get an understanding, get peace about it, get His wisdom on the idea. Okay, so that's the starting point on sowing and reaping. I need to know what I'm going to sow. I need to know how I'm going to sow it and where I'm going to sow it and why I'm going to sow it. What is the purpose of me sowing this thing? And then I need to start preparing before I even buy the seeds. So I've decided I'm going with watermelons. I've got to find watermelon seeds somewhere, but before I even buy the seeds, I need to prepare. I need to see the piece of land that I'm going to work on. I need to prepare that land. I need to till the soil. I need to work it through. I need to pull out some weeds. I need to make sure there's no sort of parasites and bugs that are in that soil that could affect my crop. And I need to make sure that the soil is properly prepared to receive the seed that I'm going to plant. Now take this principle and apply it to our beautiful business model that we have. We join, we become part of a team, we get told, right now you're here, we got to start preparing for this thing. What's the first thing that our sponsor says we need to do? Write a name list. Okay? Prepare the field. Those aren't your seeds. You still hold the seeds. The people are the field. You've got to prepare that field, but you first have to know what the field is. So by making the name list, you're basically going through your phone book, you're going through your memories, you're going through your Facebook page, you're going through whatever sort of platform you have, and you're preparing that field. And you can't sit there and think, well, this person, this field is going to be the most receptive to the seed because we don't know. We can't dictate the condition of the soil. And we can't dictate what the soil is going to do for the seed once we planted it. But we need fields. We need places to plant. And the more space we have, the more watermelons we can grow. So this is part of the preparation process of your business. And the same in farming. Prepare the field, prepare every aspect of it. Once those seeds are in the ground, they need to be tended to, but you need to prepare before you plant. So you need to know, well, when they're in the ground, they're going to need to be watered. Do I have enough supply to water that crop? Do I have the ability to make sure that I can tend to it every single day? Do I have the ability to make sure that these farms, these people that I'm going to sow my seed into and share this gift of life with, do I have the ability to nurture them, to help them grow? Do I have the ability to water them? Do I have the tools and the skills available? Make sure that you, as the farmer, have the right mindset. Make sure that you have set it aside in your heart and in your mind that I'm going to plant seed in these 10 fields. I'm going to invest in these 10 people, and I need to nurture them. I need to grow them. I need to make sure that I get them up to speed, that they germinate. You don't want to just stick that seed in the ground and hope that it's going to grow. You've got to make sure that you apply yourself to the processes of the farmer. You've got a responsibility. It doesn't help we just scatter seeds and hope that they take root. We got to really invest in it. So prepare the fields. But before you prepare the fields, identify the fields. Make that name list. Get it ready. Get it ready. And then prepare your seeds. What is your seed? The opportunity that you're going to share. So I'm talking about watermelon plants here, but you've got an incredible life wave opportunity, a life-changing opportunity that you're going to share with people, whether it's just the patches or whether it's the business or whether it's both. You've got to prepare yourself to be able to share the seed that you're going to plant in that field. And it's important to make sure that you know the condition of the soil in which you're going to plant. So how do we do that? Well, how would a farmer do it? He'd take soil samples and have them tested. He'd check for the nutrients in the soil and the value of it. He would check for acidity or alkalinity. If there was something that needed to be added to that soil, he would add it to the soil. So how do we relate this back to the people, to the farms in which we want to plant our life wave business? Build relationships. Make sure you're connecting with people on a level that they understand where you're coming from. Don't just bombard people because they're in your phone book and send them a whole lot of information, because that would be foolish. That's exactly like Jesus said. Don't just scatter your seeds foolishly. Some of them will land on the path, some of them will land in the road, some of them may take root. Don't waste that name list. The land is the most valuable thing you have here. The people on your list are the most valuable thing you have here. Nurture that land. Build a relationship with the person. Gauge and engage with them where they're at. Maybe they're not in the right place. So instead of taking or accepting a no, just continue to build the friendship, continue to build the relationship, and continue to nurture. Maybe you just got to add some value to that soil. Maybe that person's been through some personal hardships and challenges in their life, and they just actually need a friend. They don't need a business, but they need somebody that can sit and listen to them and have a cup of coffee and encourage them. And then all that they do is they see your progress and they see things changing in your life and they see, wow, your health is improving. Chris's hair is getting darker. He's looking so much younger, and things like that. But they notice that. But you haven't bombarded them with this information and made them feel like you need them. What they do need to feel eventually is that you want them. There's a big difference between being needed and being wanted, because there's value in being wanted. There's no value in being needed, because it just means you can be discarded or, chucked aside at some point in time once you've filled the need. But if there is a feeling of being wanted, there's value in that. Chris values my relationship. I value the relationship. He's invested time in me. He's invested energy in me. He's put himself into the situation. So prepare the fields. If you feel there's a negative vibe, if you feel that you're going to get shut down, step away from trying to share the business and just share love and light and hope and care and compassion, whatever it may be. I'm not saying take on their burdens, but I'm saying just be genuine, be sincere, be a farmer, be a farmer. That field is not yet ready. Some of the old principles of farming, they would only farm on a piece of land for up to 7 years, and then that land would have to rest. And sometimes they would even rest that land up to 7 years. People go through a lot in life. The stuff that we have to deal with, that we get bombarded with every day, it drains us mentally, physically, emotionally. And we got to understand that not everybody that we're talking to is at the same point in their lives as we are. Every field is different. Every field needs to be treated differently and prepared differently and nurtured differently. And when you feel the time is right and that field is prepared, properly watered, there's a receptive environment, then plant your seed. Again, gauge how it needs to happen. Do I start by just introducing the patches, or do I start by introducing the business because I've gauged that this is where this person is at? If they're struggling with a lot of things in their life that may be health related, the patch is a good place to start. If they've opened up about family members that may be struggling with some health issues, the patch is a good place to start. If we hear in the relationship with them that, hey, we're struggling financially, we're not making ends meet, we can't get groceries on the table, well, then maybe the business is a good place to start. But you, as the farmer, have to determine that. Is it now the season to plant or is it not the season to plant? And different crops get planted in different times of the year. You got summer crops and you've got winter crops. You got crops that give a very good yield, and you get crops that just give a very good turnaround. You plant lemon trees, you're going to have lemons throughout the year. You plant avo trees, you're going to wait 7 years before you harvest your first avo. But when you start harvesting avos, you're going to make serious money. So maybe it's going to take some time before you actually get an avo crop in your business. It could take 7 years. But once you start harvesting those avos, well, you laugh all the way to the bank. and it's great. But you got 10,000 lemon trees and you're getting 1 million lemons, it's still business. You're still harvesting, you're still making something out of it. So you got to gauge every field as its own piece of land. Every prospect, every person on your name list is an independent farm. You're not trying to build one farm here, you're trying to build multiple farms. And every farm that you establish, every crop that you plant needs to be nurtured. So now we get to the point that the preparation is finished. And now we decide to plant. We can't plant when it's pouring with rain. There've got to be ideal conditions for planting. So you've got to make sure again that you have built that relationship to the right point before you now decide it's time to plant the seed. And when you plant the seed, you don't walk away. You nurture it, okay? Put it in the ground. Don't make a nuisance of yourself. Just be a good farmer. You know that it's in there. Go out and check the crops. Walk through the fields. Talk to the crop that you've planted. Communicate your intention. Hey, how are you doing? Have you given any more thought to the start of this thing? You've made a decision. You've joined us in this. How are you enjoying the patches? Have you felt any difference? Hey, I've only been wearing it for 20 minutes. Well, that's fine. But nurture, 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 nurture. Take ownership of that farm and tend to the crop that's in there. And remember, everybody is at a different point in their life. They're not all going to build at Mach 1 speed. Some of them, like me, are going to take a little bit longer. Chris, I hope I'm an avo crop. but at the end of the day, you have to have that mindset, okay? But you should have determined that before you planted the seed. This person, I'm going to have to invest a little bit more time and energy in. This one's just going to be like weed and grow like wildfire. So that's fine. But every single day, make sure you as the farmer are nurturing that crop. You've planted the seeds in the ground. You've determined the right time. Make sure they're planted well. Make sure they're covered. So what I mean by that, make sure you've equipped them. Make sure they understand the tools that are available to them. The very first tool you need to equip them with is your phone number and access to you on WhatsApp or Telegram, okay? Because you're the farmer. Make sure there's an open channel of communication between you and them. And then introduce them to the tools of the business, the beautiful website, the toolbox. This is at info.com. This is at info team. Introduce them to those tools, but don't overwhelm them. You send somebody a link to that toolbox and there's like 400 and something pages. I'm like, yeah, my word, I can't even read this in one sitting in the toilet. So, it's most of the time I get my reading done. So you need to just not overwhelm them, equip them, prepare them. Okay. The seasons are long. We've got 4 seasons in the year, 90 days. Give the person time, let them get an understanding, let them find their feet. The seed has to take root. If it doesn't take root, it won't ever bear fruit. All right? I'll say that again. If it doesn't take root, it won't ever bear fruit. So make sure that's your responsibility as the farmer. Make sure it's taken root. How do we do that? Follow up the process, okay? Have they started preparing themselves? Have they listened to some of the audio that you sent or watched some of the video? Have they made a name list? Have they started a process themselves? All right. So that's you gauging and engaging. Have they started growing roots? If they've done nothing after a week, well, maybe the farmer needs to intervene. Maybe he needs to say, let's go for coffee and let's see what we can do to help you germinate. Let's see what we can do to get this process going. You might get someone that you sign up today, right now, and this evening they've already got 4 people on a call. That's fantastic. They've taken root. Okay. But you got to keep on equipping and you got to keep on nurturing and you got to keep on building that crop. Because once the seed has taken root, it's going to take a little bit of time before that little plant shoots through the ground and starts growing towards the light. So it could take a couple of weeks, could take a couple of months. You'll know, but you got to engage and work with your people so that you can see where they're at. When they break through the surface, when that plant pushes through the ground, that's a time that you can actually start to celebrate because they've seen the light, they've broken through, they're ready to be exposed to the big wide world around them, and they're going to be exposed to every single season and its harshness. They're going to be exposed to the African summers. They're going to be exposed to the wet British winters. They're going to be exposed to the Norwegian winters of minus 27 degrees. They're going to be exposed to every single season. What do I mean by that? They're going to experience the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly, and every aspect that there is to this business. They're going to get the no's. They're going to get the rejections. They're going to hear from people, this is a scam. They're going to be told, this is just placebo. There's no way that this can work. It's just another one of these things. Well, they've broken through the ground. What's your responsibility as the farmer? Protect that plant. How do you protect it? You encourage them. You continue to build that relationship. You help them to block out the noise. And you say, yeah, that's someone's opinion. Opinions are really just opinions. They belong to the person that's sharing them. They don't belong to you. How do we fix that? How do we fix that in you? How do we nurture you? How do we put a little stake in the ground to help the plant grow straight? We give them more information. We give them relevant stuff. Well, they said this thing doesn't work. You know what? How do we cancel the placebo story? Go watch every single testimonial video about every animal that's ever been patched. Send them a one about little Poplop. Send them a one about the horse. Because that cannot be placebo, can it? Do you think the horse thinks, well, oh, now there's a patch on me, I've got to feel better? No, not at all. All right? Something physically happens and takes place. So how do we encourage our people? They've broken through the ground. They're taking on some of these seasons. We just do whatever is necessary. You know, in the citrus farming regions in the Eastern Cape, as you drive through the mountains, you just see these massive white sheets of shade netting that is pulled over these crops to protect them. I mean, there's kilometers and kilometers of netting covering these things. Who put that up? The farmer. How did the farmer know that he needed to put it up? He started seeing his crops were being affected by parasites. The birds were coming and pecking the fruit before it could actually take full form. And what was the thing he had to do? He had to step in, make a decision, spend a bit of money, invest something in it to protect his crop. This is your crop. These are your people. This is your farm. Do what you need to do to protect it. Every single one, as I've said, is a different farm. They're a different crop. They're going to need nurturing in a different way. Okay? And it's our responsibility, especially getting out of the starting blocks. You want to get from zero to manager. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to require you to invest more of yourself. But when you reach SPD, well, it's a different kind of farming because now you've employed 12,000 commercial farmers that are working under you. You just got to manage the whole process. but you're still farming. You still had to get there. You've been through it all, and you can understand and know and nurture. And that's why the conference on the 7th of June is so important, because we're going to have input from incredible commercial farmers like Chris and George and Dr. Ali and Harvey. And it's important to be in that environment because we'll learn from them, we'll grow in that place, and together the environment just becomes healthy. Okay, so once your seed begins to germinate and breaks through the ground, you've got a responsibility to protect that. They are going to face those seasons. There's no doubt about it. Okay, some people will join LifeWave and they'll go to manager in a couple of weeks. That's fantastic. Okay, but they're still going to experience those seasons. They might have been planted right in the springtime when the soil was ripe and the weather was great, and 5 weeks, 6 weeks down the line, they start hitting summer, and summers can be harsh. It's a good time for growth, but summers can be harsh, especially depending on the crop that's planted. And maybe they're going to wilt a little bit in the heat, and their process is going to slow down. Maybe they get stuck on manager for about 6 months before the next spring season comes around. Who knows? But they are going to experience the seasons. And we, as the farmers, need to be prepared to help them deal with that. Then, as they start to grow and become slightly bigger, they're going to start branching out, and this plant or this tree starts to form. And it starts taking its own shape. And they start doing their own thing. In this industry, that's a no-no. Okay? Because people have invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort in creating a system that helps us grow. The plant doesn't tell the farmer what to do. The farmer cuts and prunes and trims that plant to take shape that it will bear the best possible fruit. Many years ago, I was working with my dad down in Cape Town, and we went to deliver some stuff to a co-op out in Worcester. And while we were there, I was still young, probably in my early teens, and we were walking through this massive co-op, and all this incredible farming implementation and stuff was there. And while we were there, this delivery arrived of thousands upon thousands of boxes of hair combs in a farming co-op. And I looked at this and I thought, what is this all about? And it intrigued me. And I was an inquiring young mind, and I spoke to one of the guys who was managing the co-op, and he said, yeah, we sell hundreds of thousands of hair combs every single season. I said, why? He says, because every single bunch of export grapes that gets sent from South Africa across the world has to get combed. There are people that go out into the field every day and they hold that bunch of grapes in their hands and they comb it with a hair comb. And all the grapes that haven't taken grip on the stems fall off. So they can actually mold and shape that bunch of grapes to a perfect bunch that gets packaged and sent across the world. A 6 rand hair comb, one of the biggest instruments used in fruit farming and grape farming in South Africa and probably across the world. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? But it took a farmer's insight, a farmer's knowledge, a farmer's frustration to eventually get to that point to realize this is a very important tool in our business. We need it. So somebody has gone out there and invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort to help create and build these systems to prepare the best possible fruit. No matter what that crop is, whether it's lemons, whether it's avos, whether it's watermelons, no matter what that crop is, there's a process that's been established to help you get the best possible fruit. Okay? So now that this thing has started to grow, some of the trees may need to be staked in the ground because the wind is pretty strong in some regions. Some of them may need some netting and protection. Some of them may need a little bit more sunlight. So you may need to open up some space in the field around them. Some people just need a little bit more attention. But as they start to grow, the fruits will come. So we got to just keep on nurturing. And through this entire process, from the time that we received that vision and we prayed about it, all the way along this journey, the most important thing to do is to continue praying. Give God grace, give Him thanks, give Him praise for the harvest that is in preparation. It's coming. It's coming. You know, the farmers are some of the most grateful people on this planet. They live in gratitude because they live with one of the highest degrees of risk out of any business in the world. All it takes is 100 millimeters too much rain. All it takes is the rain to be delayed by 6 to 8 weeks. All it takes is a very bad spell of frost or a meter of snow, and it can wipe out their entire livelihood. Really. And I mean, when they're farming on these massive commercial scales, you're not talking a couple of rands and cents here. You're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that can be destroyed. And so these people live with an attitude of gratitude. They live by faith. They give thanks. They are grateful for everything. Be grateful for every farm you have the opportunity to plant in, every person that has said yes to you, every person that has bought another sleeve of patches, every person that's still hanging on the line and hasn't yet made that commitment. Be grateful for them. Give thanks for them. Pray for them. Pray for them. And then, as that tree has taken shape, as it enters the period of the season where it bears fruit, rejoice, be happy, and harvest. Harvest. And don't be a miser. Share in the harvest. Give it away. Share, share, share. Share from your heart. Share from your experience. Give the best you possibly can to others around you. Why? Because you're still sowing seeds. Take some of your first fruits and bless somebody with something. Buy them a sleeve of patches. Give them a meal, whatever it may be. The harvest is there not for you to just squander. The harvest is there to feed a nation, to feed people. What am I going to do with 100,000 avos? Nothing. There's only so many I can eat, but I can bless, I can share, I can give away. And I can make certain that people experience the goodness of God. Just be prepared to take in that harvest and share that harvest. All right. And in that place of harvest is the message of success. In that place of harvest, people see, wow, look at what Freeman has achieved. Look at what he's done. He set out there without any understanding. And here he is harvesting this incredible harvest of fruit. So we need to be aware of that, you know, and don't become pompous and proud. Be humble. Walk in humility. Remember, it only takes one little thing, that bout of frost, a heavy snow, a heavy rain, a hailstorm, a massive wind. That's all it takes, and that harvest is gone. So remain humble in that. We are not called to be, you know, I don't even know the terminology. We're not called to be kings. We're called to be servants, servants to humanity, to love one another with everything that we have, to build people. And that's why this business is so amazing. Really, it is. It is the most incredible opportunity I've ever come across because of the heart behind it. And I know that our founder, the inventor of these incredible products, the man who we talk about all the time, who stands on platforms around the world, would stand face to face with any person and say, I thank God. I thank God for giving me this vision. I thank God that it's His wisdom that has helped me to build where we are today in LifeWave. I thank God that He's revealing the next steps. In one of the little video clips that I've seen with David Schmidt, where he talks, he says, we don't have a plan or a vision for the next 5 years or 10 years. God does. And we're going to wait on Him until He reveals it. We're not trying to create something out of nothing. We're trying to tap into the Master's knowledge and the Master's wisdom. And to me, that just resonates so well because that's the heartbeat, that's the pulse behind what we're doing. But we are in a position with this incredible opportunity to literally change the world. You know, we are. And we need to think about that over and over again. But how does a mouse eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We're not going to change the world overnight. But if you and me and every person on this call takes up the mindset of a farmer and we start preparing the ground, the people around us, the people on our list, even people we may have chatted to 2 years ago about the opportunity, and we think, well, you know, they're never going to get in. Revisit that farm because at the end of the day, we can change the world one person at a time. We can make a difference in one person's life. You can make a difference in a million people's lives. So be prepared. Be prepared for a harvest of more than 1 billion people patched. It's coming. It's coming. Absolutely. I think the company is preparing for it, and we should be preparing for it too. Be preparing yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. Be preparing yourself in the amount of commitment that you prepare to put into every single seed that you've sown. And then be prepared to share that harvest. Now, everything we do, this is how I started the call, everything we do in life comes back to the principle of sowing and reaping. If you sow with the right mindset and the right attitude, what will the quality of the fruit be that you will harvest? Only good. Only good. If we sow with the mindset and the intention that this is to make me rich, it might not last. If this is my intention that I'm planting because I want to change the world, how good do you think that fruit can be? How good do you think that can be? Everything we do, everything we do comes back to that principle of sowing and reaping. Today is 6 months to the day that I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. 6 months. Why did I get diabetes? Because I sowed it. I sowed it. What do you think's going to happen if you drink 2 liters of Coca-Cola every day? What do you think's going to happen if you eat 10 bags of potato crisps in a week and a couple of slabs of chocolate? You're going to sow diabetes, right? I'm talking truth here. I said I'm going to share from the heart. But then I had to take ownership of the farm. I had a very big farm, 116 kilograms of farm, but I had to take ownership of it. I had to prepare the field. I had to change my mindset, change my understanding, change my attitude. Cut out sugar, cut out carbohydrates. I went for blood tests on Tuesday this week. I went back to the doctor today to get the results. I've never seen my doctor smile as much as he was smiling this morning. Never. He said in November last year, I'm going to have to be like a strict school teacher with you to get this thing right. And when I walked into his office this morning, he said, I'm not just a happy teacher, I'm the happy principal. 15th of November last year, my blood sugar average was 11.9. Average. Today, from the results of Tuesday's blood test, my blood sugar average over the last 6 months has been 5.7. My cholesterol level was 7.6. My cholesterol this morning was 3.3. My blood fat content, now don't ask me about that. I never knew my blood could be fat, but apparently that's something they can measure. But that has gone from above 6 to just under 3. 6 months, I've lost 100 grams short of 25 kilograms. So after tomorrow morning, I should be 25 kilos down. What have I sowed? different attitude, different mindset, and sowed the right things. Sowed the belief that I could do it. Sowed the desire to need to change and want to change. Yes, I've had some help along the way. I've found some incredible patches that have helped and that will make a difference. And my goal is to come off of all the medication, which I'm not too far away from. Because if I maintain those average results for the next 6 months, there's no need to continue with any form of drugs. So that's me. That's what I've sowed. And now I have to make a decision on what I'm going to do with this incredible opportunity that we have. How am I going to approach this? What am I going to sow? How am I going to sow? And yes, I've sat on this for more than 2 years. I've done nothing with it. I'm honest. Okay. Biggest challenge has been time. I haven't had the time or the energy to put in the effort that's necessary to do things right. That's me, okay? Do things right. You don't do things half-heartedly, you do them right. You want to lose, I've got another 12 kilograms to go, 13 at the most to get to my ideal weight. You want to lose that much weight, you got to do it right, okay? You do it wholeheartedly. I want to build this business. I want to do it right. I'm getting to a point now in my life where there's a big change that's happening. My family's already moved to Jeffreys Bay. I've been in Johannesburg since July last year. While they've been down there. I've been backwards and forwards, but I'm wrapping up life in Joburg to start a new life in Jeffreys Bay. So my focus can become clear, that I can create the right environment. Not that every environment is right, but I need to still this so that I can hear this. And when the head and the heart talk the same language and they align, you better be prepared for a harvest. So here I am sharing with you, and I hope I've given you some wisdom, some insight, some encouragement to take with you, and maybe just a different approach to your business. But it's now up to you to use what you have and make a decision. But you have the ability, every one of us on this call, you have the ability to bring in a harvest, a great harvest, and to share. All right. Good.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Andrew, um, that was absolutely phenomenal. I'm giving you a round of applause from my side. That was absolutely phenomenal. Look at the notes I've been writing here. I haven't stopped writing notes. Oh my word. Sometimes we just need to take a step back. We need to jump off the hamster wheel. Sometimes we just need to have a beautiful training like this, just to give a little bit of perspective. And I think we can lose perspective so quickly because we get caught up and we in that yucky, in the messy, in the middle season that you're talking about. And you could be hitting that rocky winter. And I think the biggest thing is that the season only lasts for 90 days. It only lasts for 90 days. So if you're going through a tough patch, excuse the pun, happy patch.
Yeah.
You're going through a tough patch. Just know it's not going to last forever. It's just that season that we go through. And you know, I was making a note when you were talking as well. 3 weeks ago, I was myself and Lucinda. We were in Dubai, and I don't know if anybody knows the tallest building in Dubai is the Burj Khalifa. The Burj Khalifa is 163 stories high. It's the tallest building in the world. But do you know how they were able to build a monumental structure of that height? By going back to nature. By going back to nature. I was reading the
Yeah.
whole story. I looked at the handwritten manuscripts of how they designed it. And the only thing that holds that tower in place, 163 stories, guys. In South Africa, the tallest building we have is Carlton Center, 50 stories high. And that was high when we were kids. Now take that and times it by 3. You feel like you're in an airplane. But what keeps that building in place is the root system. There's 198 tubing systems that run kilometers under the ground that you don't see. 198 root systems, which is holding that building in place. So it's amazing how everything we do in life, we always go back to nature. We go back to nature and we go back to what's written in the scripture. It is so, so important. And going back to basics, because guys, us human beings, we take simple stuff and we just love to overcomplicate it. We just got to keep things simple and go with the flow. I can see Beverly nodding her head there. Um, and two more things that I just want to mention as well is, when Lucinda and I did our countrywide trip, we did a lot of training, and every training I spoke about, guys, the most important thing is what Andrew was saying is about when you're communicating with people. It's building those relationships. And what you got to do is, guys, put people before profit. Guys, put people before profit. If you try and run and push the money, it's going to run away from you. You've got to completely shift that around and you put people before profits. The person is more important than anything else. And there's no better product in the world that we have in our hands right now than to make a difference with people one patch at a time. And if you have a look at what Andrew was sharing, the network marketing industry, as we know, has been around for 136 years. And what is so beautiful, if you look at this industry, is in its purest form, redistribution of wealth, putting the money back into the hands and sowing the seeds to a lot of people instead of a greedy amount of people all holding 1,000 Evo seeds. What are you going to do with that? This is sowing the seeds and giving back to the people, which is something that is so, so phenomenal. But before we do, so Andrew, thank you again. The recording is going to be going out before I go to sleep tonight, definitely. But before you do the lucky draw for the 2 tickets for the convention on the 7th of June in Johannesburg, guys, I was at the venue this morning. I don't know if you guys saw the video in the groups. Oh my hat, that venue, the size of that screen is insane. So you're going to see everybody in like big 3D view. And that's where, as Andrew was saying, you can be learning the tools that you need to be able to sow correctly. Guys, you'll come to this convention a certain way and you're going to leave a complete different person. But before we do that, we've got Jesse here. Now, Jesse lives in Kwaggasfontein in Colesberg. So Jesse is on a farm. So I want to ask, there you go. Jesse doesn't know I'm doing this, but guys, that's what's so beautiful about these trainings. We keep it so real and so natural. And, I've been to Jesse's farm, myself and Lucinda. We visited her 3, 4, 5 times in the last couple of years. And we've watched the process of what Jesse and her family have been through the last couple of years, the ups and downs, and having to quickly change things because certain things didn't work. And I learned from Jesse because Jesse has the mindset of a farmer. And a lot of times, Jesse gives me so much perspective. Jesse, I would love you a couple of minutes just to share based upon what you've been through and what Andrew spoke about.
You, hi, Chris, always. I'm standing in my room. I hope you can hear me because it's so cold. I can't sit in the front. If I know that, I had to make a fire so or the aircon on. But Andrew, I just want to say you spoke from your heart. And you know what? Next time, please visit us because we are between Joburg and Jeffreys. But you know what? And I relate with you. We had a terrible, terrible 2 seasons. In October, it was raining in Joburg, in Pretoria, all over the country. no rain. November, no rain. December, no rain. We had thousands of animals here. And you know what? The men said we must plant and get another cash flow. And they started Lucerne on the pivots. I think on 10 or 12 pivots. We had the river that runs through the farm. And you know what? I said to God one day, thank you, God, for 68 years. I know what is a drought now because I didn't experience it any way. And you know, with the farmers, with the animals, the buffaloes, the rhinos, you know, a rhino is eating one lucerne a day. I think we have 50 or 60 lucerne, call it rhinos. And then after February, what happened? We prayed for the rain. Then the rain came so wet that we couldn't cut the lucerne. So, Andrew, I can associate with you. We lost millions, not thousands, millions. But you know what? We're still farmers. We're still in the season now. But luckily, as we couldn't cut the lucerne, it was too wet, we could give it to the animals. So in cash flow, we lost millions, but we could feed the animals so that now when the hunting season starts, it is there for the hunters. So it wasn't a waste. Yeah, our cash flow is bad, very bad, but the one hand feeds the other. So the gratitude we had to God that He sent the rain at His time, not our time. We believe in that. And really, I can just say you, we're still farming, my husband and all the sons. And I can just say with gratitude, we are in the next season of our lives. So, Andrew, next time, stop at Kwaggasfontein.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. Thank you. Such perspective. I know the tough time that you guys have been through. And you know what? You just keep pushing it through and you keep your most amazing attitude, even when times are tough. And I applaud you
Mm,
for that, Jesse. You are amazing. Cannot wait to see you on the 7th.
okay. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Okay, Andrew. So I think this is an exciting time coming up. What are you going to
Yeah.
do and how are you going to do this?
I'm going to ask two questions that come out of the call. And one question, first person to answer correctly, I'll sponsor them the ticket. And the second question, first person to answer correctly, I'll sponsor them the ticket. If you're obviously not in the country, or yeah, you can type it out. If you're not in the country and you're not in a position to get to Johannesburg, you can still win the ticket and either bless somebody else with it, or you can choose, but it's yours. No conditions in that. But I'm not paying for flights and accommodation. And it's in celebration of where I've come in 6 months. So yeah, let's see. I don't even have the questions in mind yet, so I need to think off the cuff and see if we can get us something that everybody should have heard. Hmm. I'll keep it personal. I'll keep it personal. What was my starting blood sugar average in November last year? That's the first question. Chris just helped me watch the chat there.
Okay, okay. We've
The
got
answer was 11.9. So the
11.5.
first person who said 11.9 is our first winner. So let's see.
Aha, Sandra Perry.
Sandra Perry, you are the first winner of a ticket to the convention on the 7th of June. Okay. Hopefully you didn't have a ticket already. If you do, bring a partner or somebody with you. Plant the seed. All right. Next question. Keeping it personal. Where am I hoping to join my family in June this year?
Huh,
Trudy
that was
Fanamera,
quick.
first answer is correct.
Wow.
We have our two winners. Chris, just take those names down for me, please.
There we go. We
Okay.
got Sandra Perry and Trudy van der Merwe. There we go. All right. So,
And to
Trudy, if
you
you
two.
are, yeah, Trudy van der Merwe. So, Sandra Perry is on the group. Trudy, if you're on the group, just send Andrew a private message. Sandra, if you can do same as well, that'll be absolutely amazing.
Perfect. And then what I'll do, once you've made contact with me, I'll get your details and I'll purchase the tickets in your name with your details, and the ticket will be sent to your email address. So that's the easiest way for us to do that. All right. Congratulations. Thanks for listening. And I'm doing the Friday night presentation tomorrow, and I'm doing a live presentation in Bedford View on Saturday. And I'll be at the convention on the 7th of June.
Ah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much. And thank you for that beautiful gesture. And like I said in the beginning, thank you for everything you're doing for the community. Guys, hope you enjoyed this call as much as I did. I saw a lot of people making notes, taking notes. So I'll be getting the recording out. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Just hold on, Chris. Sorry. I see
Okay.
Trudy hasn't signed up yet and she's not on the WhatsApp group.
Ah,
So, Trudy, I need to be able to communicate with you somehow. Who is your inviter?
let's have a look. Trudy. Oh, we're gonna have to do that. And signed up here, not in the group. Okay, so Trudy, send your on the message there, send your cell phone number, and then Andrew can message you. Okay, let's just wait for Trudy to. Oh, there we go. Jacques calling. All right, send your cell phone number, then we can get Jacques' number as well, and then we can work it up. So just type
Put my
your
number
cell.
here as well, Chris.
Okay.
This is my number.
Okay, Trudy, there we go. There's okay, and there's Trudy's number. So take that as well. Okay, you guys have got each other's number. Cool. Right, communicate with each other and then we'll keep in comms. Fantastic.
Perfect. We will set you
Yes,
up.
lovely. Okay, guys, enjoy your evening. Love you all. Good night, everybody. Bye, guys.
Stop the recording, Chris.
Ah, yes, shall do. Cheers, eh?
Awesome. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.